Hello everybody, welcome back to Game Bad. I've been playing Wo Long Fallen Dynasty, and I kind of just wanted to have a conversation about it because I think the reception of this game has been severely negative, and I don't know that I completely agree with those negative reviews. Now, that is coming from somebody who is not particularly a follower of Souls-like games. I have played my fair share of Elden Ring with my wife, and I love Elden Ring, but I can't say that I've been following, the Souls-like games since their conception. I really just hopped in after Elden Ring. So I will say that, maybe my opinion doesn't matter as much. Maybe there's some things that I'm missing, and if I had experienced those previous games, then I would have a different perspective. So I just wanted to say that, full disclosure, I am somewhat new to this type of genre and this type of RPG. With that said, from a Souls-like sort of casual player, I am so far thoroughly enjoying this game. I will say that day one, when I first hopped into this game, I really did not know what to make of it, and I didn't know what direction it was trying to go. And actually, within the first hour of gameplay, when I first installed it, I turned it off because I just couldn't quite understand it, which is hilarious because actually, when I came back and started playing the game again the next day, I realized that it's very simple. I get the impression that this game is easy to learn but complicated to master. I think once I start to get towards the later part of the game, there's going to be a lot more boss fights and enemies that are much more difficult than right at the beginning of the game. But I just finished the third major boss of the game, and I can say I'm actually kind of surprised how simple it is. The combat really doesn't have a ton of depth to it, but that's okay. I mean, for a casual player, it's just the right amount of difficult, in my opinion. This combat mainly revolves around mastering the timing of attacks. And that might mean that you play, a boss two or three times, but that third time, when you finally kind of mastered what his moveset is and what the timing is, all you have to do is push the deflect button to sort of roll out of the way. You'll take no damage until you deplete the enemy's spirit bar and you can do a fatal attack. So that brings me to the whole spirit bar idea. So essentially in this game, you have your spirit bar, which is it's almost like a mix of mana and stamina, I would say. Swinging your weapon, dodging, putting up your guard, those are all things that take away from your spirit force. How you gain spirit is landing attacks, mainly light attacks, or deflecting your enemy's blows. And the whole idea is to deplete the enemy's spirit so that you can have the advantage in that fight. And this applies to smaller enemies throughout the level or the boss fight. The ultimate goal is to deplete that spirit and outweigh the enemy's spirit level. That's kind of it. If you were to create a build that is just nimble and you get really good at the timing of those deflects, then you're going to defeat pretty much every boss in no more than 5 minutes, at least in my experience so far. I know there's some bosses still to come. But, comparing this game to all of the Elden Ring that I played, they kind of don't compare. The combat in Elden Ring, though I know that a lot of people say that Elden Ring was easier than some of the other Souls-like games, or even Sekiro, the combat in that game is very punishing. And these sort of parries, I don't remember ever using parry in Elden Ring. I know there are certain shields that you can use to do that, and maybe people are pretty good at that, but I never used it, so I'm not totally sure how it compares, but I almost guarantee that this game's deflect system is almost overpowered for the gameplay. And now, the thing is, the whole game sort of revolves around that system. You can block regular attacks, and then you wait for a critical attack from the enemy, and if you deflect those critical attacks, you chunk at their spirit bar, and a lot of the time, if you do it once or twice, you'll be able to get that fatal blow, which takes, sometimes it's like a third of the enemy health. Now, from a casual point of view, this is really awesome. As you get better at your timing and you get better at finding the windows of opportunity for these enemies, the game gets really easy. All of the sort of mini bosses within the levels, for the most part, I've beat them all in my first try, which is not what I expected from this game. I expected this game to be much more of a grind than it is. Now there's this other system that sort of comes into play, but not as much as I was expecting it to, is this idea of morale. So you gain a morale rank throughout a level, and when you start into a new area, that starts over at 0, and you gain those by killing enemies with a higher rank than you. But if that enemy kills you, they gain some of your rank and they become stronger. Then the game kind of sends you on somewhat of a revenge quest to get that rank back, and it actually makes kind of a big deal of it when you manage to get revenge on the enemy. And when you do, it's very satisfying. You get your rank back and you get to feel accomplished and kind of move on with the level. It's a really nice feeling and a system that I think actually works pretty well. But this is where the game grinds a little bit in terms of when you come across an enemy who has, it's just way too high of a rank, you sort of have to go back through the level and kill enemies, and sometimes you have to rest and let those enemies respawn and kill them some more to, you know, sort of build up your rank so that you're in a place to even take on some of the area bosses. And actually that's fine. It's not super grindy, but there's a little bit of that. I find that the further I get in the game, I actually have to do that less and less. But early on, especially, I remember in that first area, I really couldn't take on either of those bosses and sort of had to like cycle back through. So don't let that first area discourage you. It feels difficult, but as soon as you get past that area, the game sort of starts to feel familiar, and not in a bad way. Just you'll start to get used to it. Just give it some time and practice your timing. It has a really diverse character creator that I was pretty happy with, although funny enough, I kind of just ended up going with one of the initial presets because it's just the guy I thought looked the coolest. You can go in and change his eyes, his nose, his mouth, you know, the shape of his head, the shape of his body. There's a lot of different sliders and options. You can even change the length of your hair, you know, these sort of things. There's a lot of customization here for just about anything you want. And actually in this game, it matters to some degree because there are a lot of cutscenes and your character shows up in those cutscenes as you created him. He is not a voiced protagonist other than, you know, grunts and kind of sounds here and there, but he does show up in cutscenes, so you will see his physical appearance. So just make sure you're stoked about the character that you make, and I'm sure with all of the options that are here, you will manage to find something that you like. I know I talked about the character creator last, but, you know, that's fine. But what do you guys think? How do you guys feel about the game? I'm enjoying it kind of as a casual Souls player. I think it's a really good experience, and I really don't know where those reviews are coming from. But, you know, give me your opinion. What do you guys think of the game? If you dislike it, you know, why is that? I really like the idea of having a dialogue about it. I wasn't expecting to enjoy this game as much as I am, to be frank. And I have plenty of game left here, so it has plenty of time to lose me, I suppose. But as of right now, I'm enjoying it within the first 6 hours or so. So anyway, those are some of my thoughts on Wo Long Fallen Dynasty. Please let me know how you feel about it. If you want me to make some more videos on this game, I'd be happy to. I'm definitely going to be playing this for a while. So if you enjoyed the dialogue and you want to see more content on this, give me a like and subscribe. And I hope to see you next time. This is GameBad. My name is Walker, and I'll see you next time.